Right, there we go.
There we go.
So welcome everyone again. We're glad you all are here and happy 2023.
Yeah.
I know, right? Yay. It's going to be an exciting year to see what birds we all see. And this is our, third January, I think, with Do It Yourself?
It might be.
Or is it the second? No, it's the third one, I think.
I think it might be the third.
I think so too.
No, it's the second because March 2020 was our.
Oh yeah, okay. I know it's hard to
Was the first lockdown.
But anyway, it's been popular. We're glad to do it every month.
Mhm.
And this past time we did it for 2 months, and it was Ashley Reservoir. And the birds were ring-necked duck, wood duck, osprey. I'm trying to think of the other two.
We do
Gulls too.
Oh, yeah, ring-billed gull and the herring gull. That's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
So I don't know if anyone had a chance to get to Ashley Reservoir. Did anyone have a chance to get over there? I did not
I
myself.
did not.
Oh, it looked like
Lisa?
I did actually think it was a bufflehead, not a wood duck.
oh, Bufflehead. That's it. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I just saw none of the ducks anyways, but but that was what was on the list. And I did go soon after our meeting, and it was like the coldest wind ever. So it was a pretty and I saw a ton of gulls, and I was gonna look at them on the way back. And when I came back, they were gone. So I'm sure there were herring gulls in there at least, but I did not see the other birds. But it was a nice walk.
It can get really windy out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I was there, which was not in the past couple months, but the last time I was there, it was really windy. Yeah. Lesley, you went?
I did not go to Ashley, but I did go to Whiting Reservoir twice. And I saw buffleheads. Those were the only ones I was really able to identify. Plus there were some mallards, and there were a couple of swans, which stand out. But
Right.
so I didn't get to Ashley, but I was close.
Yeah.
Where is Whiting Reservoir?
Whiting is down on the access road to the music venue at Mount Tom.
Oh,
It's got a really nice, I was with people who wanted to walk a lot, and it's got a wonderful flat, it must be at least 2 miles around, nice path that circles the reservoir. But it was also bitter cold too. I mean, we were really stepping along, but the times we went, it was hard to stand against the wind.
And I don't know if the reservoirs are frozen. Are parts of them frozen right now? Does anyone know? I don't know.
I didn't see any ice
Mhm.
when I was there, but that was before the holidays. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
We went to Ashley in mid November, and we saw ringbills, juncos, geese, and we saw horned grebe, which was really nice.
Oh, wow. That's really exciting.
Yeah, it was too far away because we didn't have a scope with us. But if you go out on that on the pathway across the water, there's a place where you could just sit on a bench, and we just sat on the bench, and eventually that thing came closer and closer till we were sure it was the horned grebe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. You never know what you're going to see on some of these bigger lakes.
Yeah, the other thing about Whiting is you can walk into it from Route 141.
Oh,
Walk into it from one.
Yeah.
It's a downhill walk and it's an uphill walk back to your car. But yeah, it comes down behind the
Oh,
White
yes.
House Golf Course.
Yep.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
connects
feels-
to the NET. Yeah.
huh.
So you
I
can
didn't
get to a somewhat more remote part to start with, rather than where the dam is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do Whiting at some point.
Yeah, we
Leslie.
should. Yeah, sure.
And then we could all know, which trails to take and where to look. Yeah. But you said you saw the horn-greaved, it was at Ashley Reservoir, is that right?
Right.
Yeah, interesting.
Good evening. I'm sorry my video isn't showing. I'm not sure why, but I'll
Hi.
Welcome,
I'll
Mark.
be here
Thanks for
audio
being-
only. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Did you have a chance to get to Ashley Reservoir? We were just sharing.
I did, but I went fairly early on, not long after our last meeting. And that's an interesting place. I had no idea it was there.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice walk.
Yeah, I walked quite a ways actually, and all the way around.
Mhm.
And the day I went, there wasn't so much going on bird-wise. Of course, I saw a lot of geese, and I saw a couple of black ducks. I didn't see
Okay.
any gulls, and I didn't see really any other water birds that day. It was a beautiful day, and there were quite a few people out, and maybe not so many birds. But it looks like a nice spot. I'm sorry I missed the. Did others see a lot of birds as well when they went there? Or?
There are a couple people who saw ring-billed ducks and
Gulls.
ring-necked ducks. Sorry, am I saying that
Oh,
wrong?
okay, okay.
Ring-necked ducks, yeah, and buffleheads.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah,
Yeah, and gulls, but not sure which type of gulls.
I
So,
see.
yeah,
Yeah.
so our list included ring-necked ducks, buffleheads, ring-billed gull, herring gull, and the osprey. I don't think anyone saw an osprey.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for the osprey. and-
Yeah, they usually go, they're usually gone by winter because they're, they
Yeah.
migrate through.
Yeah,
So it's hit or miss with the osprey.
yes.
Lesley, did you have a chance to get out there?
I didn't.
You didn't,
I
yeah.
didn't know.
Mhm.
Lots of illness.
Right, I know, it's the time of year, unfortunately.
So I
Yeah.
missed that.
Uh-huh.
But I did get there earlier in the fall. And saw the osprey and the gull.
Oh, so you did see the osprey earlier.
Earlier,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it must have been October before,
I see.
yeah. It doesn't count.
And I do believe that Mike Locker is doing a field trip there at Ashley Reservoir in, I want to say, maybe April. So it is in the Hampshire Bird Club newsletter. So if anyone is interested in having a walk with Mike, it's on a Sunday, I believe. So in the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to keep that in mind. So. Anyone else have anything else to share about our past couple months?
I have gone to the Connecticut shore a couple times, and there is a lot of bird activity there, even this time of year.
Yeah, and Mike Locker, he's doing, what does he do? Coastal birding, right, Lesley?
Mhm.
Yeah. he's
So
doing coast-
Hammonasset, if anybody goes down there, Hammonasset State Park is a fabulous place to bird on the coast.
Yeah, Hammonasset is nice, and there's also what is it called? Milford Point,
Mhm.
which is an Audubon place, and
Yes.
right across the river from there in of course I keep forgetting the names of places, but there's another small Audubon place as well as a lot of nice shore places, and the winter is always very nice there. There's not really hardly anybody birding there, and
Yeah,
last
it's
year
always
there were snowy owls, which were a big attraction.
Mhm.
No snowy owls this year, at least so far. But you can go there when it's, as long as it's like 35 or 40 degrees, it's warm enough, you're okay. And you always see stuff. There's always something going on.
That's
Not
fabulous.
necessarily what you expect, but something will be there. Yeah.
Yep, like I said, Mike Locker will be doing a workshop for us on coastal birding. So if anyone wants to find out more, and do you remember the date of that, Lesley?
Yeah, it's the 17th. It's a Tuesday, I think.
Mhm. Right,
17,
Seven,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that can cover some of the birds probably that you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he said he's gonna cover loons and alcids, so.
oh,
um,
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's what you'd see down there.
Yeah, the loons certainly change their appearance from what we see in our lakes around
Oh,
here.
yeah, definitely. And it's fun to compare the different types of loons, so.
Yeah.
Yes, they're the the red-throated loon
Mhm.
without the red throat, which is
Right.
what you see this time of year.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So should we get started, Lesley, with our
Yeah.
presentation? Okay. So let me see. I go sharing screen. Can everyone see my funny computer screen here? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Then let me make it larger here. And slide. Nope. Slideshow. All right. And I'm going to make
There we go.
you all disappear so it's easier. So we are going to do the honey pot because the honey pot has gotten a lot of attention in the past few weeks.
Yes.
But we do have our 5 birds are the very common, not common, but the more common birds. And if you didn't hear Lesley talking a few minutes ago, she said that she did include the Smith's longspur, which we'll cover at the end. And if you have questions about that.
That's the current celebrity.
The current celebrity.
Yes.
Right.
Celebrity birds.
Yes. And this was just my picture of an osprey staring us down from our last spot, which we've already covered all these. I just put this here in case we forgot which species they were. It helped remind me. I didn't know if I needed to pull up the slide or not, but it seemed like we all remembered. So that was helpful. And I'll let Lesley talk about the map and location of where to go.
Okay, so now you probably can't see my cursor, but the simplest way I think to get from Northampton is to go over the bridge right there. And you see, even before Aqua Vita Road, there's a right turn. So it's literally right off the bridge at the Sportsman's. Well, maybe it's not called Aqua Vita Road. The right. I don't know that there's even a name to it. It's just like a little right turn. It's right after the UMass Crew House, just before, that defunct gas station there. There's sort of an old abandoned gas station. So you take the right there, and it sort of swings you around to Bay Road.
Oh, yeah, it's right here. It's right here. This is it.
Oh, that's it. Yes, I'm sorry. You're
Yeah, so
right.
it's after
Absolutely.
Aquavita. I had to think, I
After
couldn't
Aquavita,
quite
yeah.
figure out what you were saying. Yeah, so it's
Right,
this
and
way.
I wasn't
Yeah.
picturing Aqua Vita. So, right, that entrance to it. So it's right here. So it's right across from, so yeah, there, which is where you're eventually going to get to. So you take that from Northampton, you just take that right, then you'll come to a stop sign right by the R there and take a left, and you'll come back onto Route 9, take another left and come down. And again, across from that defunct gas station is Cross Path Road. So you
Yeah,
take
and
that
this gas station is now a new gas station. And I'm trying to think, is it a Cumberland Farms there? I can't remember.
There's a big Pride station over by the Hampton Inn.
Yeah, it's the
there.
Pride station.
Yeah, it's a
But
Pride station.
There's still a defunct gas station.
Oh,
right
okay.
across from
Right.
Cross Path.
And the Tesla charging unit is there at the.
Yes, yes. And so the reason we mentioned this is because you cannot take a left here with
Right.
this direction towards Amherst on Route 9. You have to do this funny little turnaround.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you take Cross Path Road, which is, there's a berm on the right, and you'll get to where it tees here with Cemetery Road. And you can actually go either way, but I'm going to suggest that first you take a right there. You're just going to come, and all along there, you can park along the road. You really need to pull your car off the road because there are cars going up and down Cemetery Road all the time. And right by that C in Cemetery Road there is where the Smith's longspur has been seen. So there's a little field of tiny little aquavitas, arborvitaes, little rows of them right about there. And you'll see to the left of those little arborvitaes is just sort of a field, stubble, corn stubble, and that's where the Smith's longspur has been seen. But that's also where you might see a northern harrier. I've seen it hunting, several of them. I've actually seen 2 of them recently there. A little bit further back, if the cursor goes back towards the river, no, back to the sea. Yeah, that way. I can't see it on this map. I thought.
Okay, we can go forward a map because that might be helpful for you.
Oh, there we go. Yes, thank you.
So here's Bay Road, you came around, and here's
So here's
going
Cemetery
up Cross
Road.
Path, and here's Cemetery Road.
Right. And so that so you keep going on Cemetery Road towards Amherst, and that turnoff there, you see that turnoff? That will take you to the transfer station. And that's actually a great place to bird. There's a fence and there's a red-shouldered hawk that just hangs out there all the time. Also a great place to see the harriers. And there's some trees and bushes there where you'll see sparrows, flickers, and some of the other birds that we talked about. So coming back onto Cemetery Road, the fields on either side of the road are all sort of flattened now, and you'll see, that's where you'll see the flocks of snow buntings and horned larks. If you keep going on Cemetery Road past where it tees, this is also another great area to bird. It doesn't appear on this map, but there is a little turn that takes you closer to the river. And then a left from there will take you, there are a couple of little roads, you just follow them along, again, through the fields. But you just get some different habitats there. And it's a great place to bird in the spring as well as now. I think the most productive area to bird in the winter is that first area that I was talking about, too, where you take the right off of Cross Path and near the transfer station. I think that's where you'll see the most, and you want to take a look at low bushes and shrubs that are along the side of the road for sparrows, and mostly for sparrows, actually. And there are a few trees where you might see flickers and some
And I'm just going to go back a map to see if it shows. Oh, it does show.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it
It
shows
does
that
does
other-
show the other road. So
Yeah,
here's
the other road.
Cross Path Road, here's Cemetery Road.
Yeah.
So the transfer station would be up here, and then instead of going right, if you went left, here are the other roads.
Yes, that's really helpful.
Yeah, and so you can drive along these roads, however, whatever makes you comfortable, because sometimes they get icy.
They can get icy and muddy.
Yeah.
And they're all private fields. They're all farmers working fields. So you don't want to go into the fields. It's best to bird from the road if you can. The one place where you can get off the road, what is the HCRC? Is that the model airplane
Yes.
Yeah.
place? Yeah. So a little bit past that there, right where the cursor is on the road, you'll see a tiny little farm called That's a Plenty Farm. There's a little sign. I mean, it's literally tiny. It's a long corridor that runs from Honeypot Road to the river, and it's only about 20 feet wide. But the people who own that farm raise perennials. They raise all native perennials for sale, and they've been really nice to birders. They're usually happy if birders want to go in there. That's also a great place to see some sparrows. There are different kinds of sparrows. I've seen white crown there as well as the American tree. And then if you walk back, you might see, we saw, what did we see? Is it a grouse running through there once?
Oh, great.
Oh, yes.
What's,
So you just never know.
what's the landmark to pick out where that trail
Well,
begins?
you'll go past where you'll see the model airplane field. There's a little sign for the model airplane field on the
Yes.
left.
Uh-huh.
And you keep going past that. There's a field just to the west of that. And on the edge of that field, you'll see on your right, a sign that says That's a Plenty. And you'll see a couple of little buildings, little tiny buildings, a little greenhouse. And you could just sort of park along the side of the road and walk in there. And they've been very friendly to birders.
And I feel like there's a line of shrubs at the beginning.
Yes, actually, there's a line of shrubs at the end of the model airplane field.
Mhm.
Then there's an open field, and then there's another smaller line of shrubs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you'll know, because if you start walking along the path, you'll see like pots and little areas where it looked like someone had a garden,
Mhm.
and yeah, and
Greenhouse.
pile and a small greenhouse. It'll just look like a pile of gardening stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's not really a sign there. So it's
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I thought there was a little sign by the side.
maybe there is, and I've just never noticed it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, but and it's a fine path. It's not, it's not really bushwhacking. It's maybe a little
no,
overgrown
no.
this time of year, but so that's a fine place to bird too. And then from Amherst, the directions from Amherst come down Route 9. And I think the next map might show the turnoff that I was thinking about.
So let me find
Yes.
Route 9. Oh, here's
So,
Route 9.
yep. So there's Essalon Cafe right there. You take that as you're coming on Route 9, you'll take that right onto West Street. Nope.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
then you'll take the left onto Cemetery Road, and that'll take you right there. So it's pretty easy.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
thank
And
you.
then we have written directions too.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to take a photograph. And if anyone has any questions about the map or directions, just unmute and let us know.
I
have
have
just a
one
question.
more comment.
Mm.
When you first are going, what was it, Cross Path Road that you're
Yeah.
going in? Yeah. Right as you get to the point where you either turn right or left, if you go to the right and park your car, you can walk on the walking path
I was going to say that. Yes. there's a
directly to
dike.
the river, and that's where the Blue Grosbeak was this past year and maybe previous years too,
Yeah,
right off that path.
for 2 years. Could you go back to the first map, I think? Just so we
Yeah.
can guess. So there's Cross Path Road, and you can park your car, but really the extension of Cross Path Road is a
It's a
long
dike.
dike
Yeah.
that you can walk on. Thank you. I was going to mention that and I'd
Mm.
forgotten. And then you can actually walk all the way to Alexander Dawson,
Which
which
is
is
right
another
here.
conservation area over there. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's actually a great
maybe on
place to
the
go.
other map. Oh, it doesn't show it. Oh, yeah, it does. Here.
Yeah, there it is, the dotted
There-
line.
There's the dike on this dotted line. And it's a very clear trail.
Yeah.
And I
that's-
noticed what
as
they've done is in the fall, I mean, there was a lot of brush that was growing in the gully just east of the dike.
Mhm.
And they cut all that brush. I mean, I think it must have been growing for 2 or 3 years, but that'll probably just start the whole process again of, good habitat for small
Yeah.
birds.
Yeah.
And then there's a field on the west side where I think they're growing trees or something that they actually do, but and that's where the Blue Grosbeak was, but it
It's
is a
owned by
very
Wine
pretty
City.
area actually. And it's and the river walk itself is very nice too when you go over.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And did someone else have a question? I thought someone else might have had a question.
Yeah, so previous years, we haven't seen it this year. Someone has been putting out seed in a spot on Honey Pot Road as the road gets close to the river. I don't know if that's,
It's around this area. Let me go back.
yeah,
Yes.
Let me, yeah, I want to say it's right where the road gets very close to the river, somewhere
Right.
around here.
Yep.
And that can attract sparrows and cardinals and, that sort of thing. And I
Interesting.
feel like it's on this side of the road, but maybe
yeah,
I'm,
it is,
Yep, it's on the water.
near a telephone pole.
yeah, that's right. It is. It's near a telephone pole. So it's something to look for.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions about our map? Or anything else you want to add, Lesley?
No, just that this is one of my favorite areas to bird because there's so many habitats. You can see the sparrows, you've got raptors, you've got all kinds of, celebrities showing up, including the blue grosbeaks and the short-eared owls. But you can also look at the river and there'll be waterfowl in the river as well, both from that little spot that you pointed out and from the walk, that's further towards the dike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
right
it's
here.
just a great, it's a great area. to bird.
I have a question. Walking down one of those roads, dirt roads, it comes to a point where there's a sign about there's no trespassing, like on the road itself or
Right.
private or.
I
Okay,
feel
so-
that's about right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is all private. And some people are less interested in having birders.
So
here.
I feel like I usually, if I go to the honey pot, I get to the point where there's the bird seed out and then I turn right around and I come back.
Yeah. Can you actually go out and do that loop, or it looks like it's posted?
I think that's posted.
Okay.
And so I've never done that myself because I just, I don't know the person. And so I don't know if they'd be happy to have birders going around that road, that loop of the road. So I usually turn around about here and then go back. So, and I'm not sure that this would afford much more.
It's not an unusually different.
Yeah, I think the most
Yeah,
of the
makes
other birds you can find elsewhere where it's not posted.
Yeah.
So,
A quick question.
Sure.
Is the blue grosbeak still around? Is
Um,
anyone?
I
Well,
don't think so. I think this is the wrong time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably.
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully they'll come back in the spring.
Right, they're really, so they're migratory, and so it's been around for the past
years.
few years.
Yep, 3 years.
Yes, so but
first
it's
is-
not
is-
around this time of year.
Yeah.
So spring, it's something to look for.
Great.
Yeah.
What, someone mentioned short-eared owls. Do they
Yeah.
show up sometimes here?
Along the dike around this time of year, the past few years, there's been one. And then I think it was last year, there were two.
Oh, really?
And there has been a short-eared owl seen in the area, but it was seen not here this year. It was seen at the East Meadows.
Okay.
Towards the end of the runway, but I'm not sure if it's still there.
Okay.
Many people, they go along Cross Path Road and then they'll park and go up along the dike here at sundown and look and scan for the short-eared owls.
For the short-eared owl. Okay.
Yeah. So, all right.
Okay,
We'll start with our birds.
okay, horned lark.
Ah.
So you don't usually see one horned lark. They travel in large flocks. They're really beautiful birds. The horned part are these little tufts. Okay, I realize you can't see my, on either side of the head. And this photograph doesn't show it that well. But they sort of sit up like little ears. They're black, and you see the very striking yellow throat, the black top of the breast band here, the black malar. It looks like a little mustache coming down below the eye, the black that surrounds the bill. And then the wings are, you see this very soft beige pattern, sort of gray, brown, dark brown, light colored breast. The breast can look light. It can sometimes look yellow, almost like a meadowlark, but it's usually just, it's pale. It's a sort of a sparrow-like bird. But it's a little bit bigger than a sparrow. You see the small pointy bill. And I think I put a photograph of a female. Right, here's a female. Now she has a more rounded head, although you can sort of see the suggestion of the little tufts at the back of her head. She's a similar pattern on her back. And wings, the sort of dark gray, dark brown, and lighter brown, a light colored breast. There's a hint of yellow at her throat, but the colors are more muted than on the male. And she sometimes, I think, gets misidentified at, if you're seeing a bunch of them, you think, oh, that's a savanna sparrow or something. It's easy to, I think, misidentify the females, but they're usually, you'll find the horned larks in huge flocks, and you'll see them. And the other day, someone said they saw 400. I think the most I saw today was closer to 30 or 40, but they'll fly in a huge flock, and they have this very kind of scattered flight pattern. They don't sort of fly, starlings all fly together. They're all sort of pointed in the same direction. And horned larks are generally going in the same direction, but they're all kind of scattered and very, very quick wing beats. So that it's a very distinctive looking flock. Once they land, they're almost impossible to find because they really sort of they look just like the corn stubble that they're foraging in. But that group of birds can also include snow buntings, can also include the odd Lapland longspur, and I think people have seen the Smith's longspur fly with the horned larks. But the horned larks, you'll see them on again, that first area that we described, take that right onto Cemetery Road. I've seen them all over both sides of the road there. And once you see them land, if you really just focus on the spot where you saw them land, you'll eventually start to see their little heads poke up, and the bright yellow throats will really become evident.
When I was over there looking for the Smith's longspur, a whole flock of these horned larks landed on the road.
Mhm.
It was very strange because usually they're just blending in the field, but there they all were. And they were there for, maybe 15 seconds. And then there was a car coming and they all took off, of course. But but it was odd to see them and where
I
you
had
could actually see them.
I had that
individually
same
walking around.
experience. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had that same experience.
Yeah.
So, and I think I saw 400 horned larks,
Wow.
all on the edge of the road. And then they all took off when a car came. It was pretty amazing.
Wow. It's nice to see them on the road because then you actually get to see them.
That's
You're not trying to
right.
go, what is that? What is that?
Yeah, you can actually see, it's so
Comfort there.
hard in the field to make them
Yeah,
out
It
sometimes.
can be hard, yeah. So our next bird is the snow bunting. Now this is non-breeding snow bunting. So we are not going to see the very striking color that you might be familiar with, where it's white with some black markings. This will be, you'll definitely see the white breast, the white throat, the sort of slightly orange bill with a little black tip. You see the brown coloring under the eye and just sort of in front of the wings. And then the wing pattern is a brown, black, and white, and black leg. It's about the same size as the horned lark. And you may see 1 or 2, or you may see 15 in a flock of horned larks. So it's never, there's no given, you have to just look at all of them. It's like, where's Waldo? You have to find the one that's different. The female looks quite similar. I don't think I have a photograph of a female. It's very similar. Not quite as much brown, a little more black and gray. What's very striking about the snow buntings and makes them easy to identify is when they're in flight. And I think the next photograph, yes, you see that white and the black sort of triangle on the wingtips. When they're flying with a flock of horned larks, if you look up and you see that white right away, you'll know. Even though the horned lark's in flight, you'll see the light colored breast. This is more striking because of the black on the wingtips. So that will be your clue. Again, you sometimes see them in a group by themselves. And I think people have seen flocks of just snow buntings recently at the honeypot. But often they'll be in a mixed flock with the horned larks and maybe a Lapland longspur.
If they're by themselves, how big a flock can there be? They're relatively smaller than the horned larks?
I don't know that there's a standard. I mean, I don't know that there's,
Okay.
people have said they've seen 300 snow buntings, and 400. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like when birds are reported, the horned larks are always in big numbers.
Yeah.
compared to snow
Uh-huh.
buntings.
And
I
here
see.
they're smaller, but
Yeah, so,
the snow buntings, yeah.
right. I always feel like snow bunting is maybe a few here and there. So whereas, horned larks, it'll be, 200, 300 reported. Yeah.
Yeah.
You ready for me to move on, Lesley?
Need to move on.
All right, we chose a woodpecker because we have lots of fields out at the honeypot. Flickers are the woodpecker that likes to be on the ground. And so that's one of the reasons we chose them. They're really common in the honeypot area because there's these large trees that offer habitat at other times of the year, like the holes in the trees where they nest. But during this time of year, they're searching for food and they will eat berries along with searching for larvae, and they'll peck at the ground a lot. Flickers are an interesting woodpecker because if you think of our other woodpeckers, when they fly and land, they often will land on maybe a large branch or a trunk of a tree, and they'll be not standing like this in this photo. They'll be long wise along the branch or the trunk, because that's, if you think about how woodpeckers, the other species, move along the trunks, and the big branches, they're going around the branches or along the branches, searching through the crevices for things to feed on. But flickers, they're just using the branch to land on like other songbirds. And so that's something to look for. If you see a woodpecker and it's sitting more like this, where it's not long wise along the branch, then it's probably a flicker. This is a male, by the way, because our males, they have this mustache stripe and that's black. Oops, I went ahead. Let me see if I can go back again. If you're in the West, it will be red. So you can have different colors. And notice the yellowish color here and this nice necklace and these spots. It's a really beautiful bird. Really, really long bill, again, that they poke down in the ground. And so think of the flicker like, instead of other woodpeckers that peck on wood searching for insects, flickers will be pecking on the ground. And what flickers like the most to eat are ants. And here we have male and female. So again, here's this mustache stripe of the male, and the female does not have that. And so that's the difference to look for. And then our flickers here in the East, they have this yellowish underneath. The northern flickers in the West will have red underneath, or an orangey red. So they're called the red shafted flicker, and ours are called the yellow shafted flickers, although they are the same species. And flickers are year-round here. There are those that migrate from Canada, and they'll migrate through this area and they'll go further south. But we can see flickers year-round, and they'll be nesting here as well. Any questions about the flicker? Right.
Are the ones that we see year-round actually residents here year-round?
Yes, they could be residents here. Absolutely.
Okay, so there's not an exchange going on.
I don't think so. I
Okay.
believe that, the ones, if I remember correctly, I believe that the ones that are further north migrate the furthest. So they'll
Oh,
be
I see.
further south. I could be wrong about that, but many of the flickers that we're seeing are resident. So they're here year round. And flickers are not the type of woodpecker that comes to your feeders necessarily.
Right.
So you're not going to see them at bird feeders. You might see them if you have a water feature. So that's where you can look for them.
Or suet. We have flickers at the suet.
Oh, you do? Gosh, that
All the
seems
time.
unusual.
Yeah.
And do you have, how big is your suet, Lesley?
It's just
I mean, is
nice
it like a
little
big
cage.
cake, or is
No,
it
it's just
little?
one of those little cages. It's like
Oh my
4 inches
God,
by
that's
4 inches.
unbelievable.
It fits,
Yeah,
and they
that's-
come, and it's right next to the right next to the house, next to the porch. So they'll just come
Wow.
and hang out. So
Yeah,
it's
you're
actually
very
really nice.
fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's unusual. All right, our next bird is a bird of prey, the northern harrier. And northern harriers, as you can see in this photo, fly low over open fields and marshes. That's their habitat. And so that is why the honeypot is a perfect place to look for these birds. They fly with a dihedral, meaning it looks like a V shape. This one really shows a sharp V. Sometimes it's not as strong as this. And they have very long wings in proportion to the length of their body. And that's because they're flying low over the fields, listening for their prey, which are small rodents. Sometimes they'll take birds like cardinals and other songbirds, but mostly they're searching for mice and voles and things like that. And they hunt by both sight and sound, which is unique for a hawk because most hawks hunt by sight. And so, and I'll show you in the next picture. And so they're flying low and they're looking, this one's actually looking at the camera, but typically they're flying with this dihedral shape. And then you can see like their bill is facing down towards the ground because they're looking down, and they're using this special disc-shaped face like owls for the sound to come to their ears to hear their prey. This brown one is a female, this gray one is a male. And again, you can see these long, long wings. And what's unique about the harriers, it has this white patch on both males and females, this white rump patch, really long tails too. So think long wings, long tails. If you see a hawk like that, and then it starts to sort of tilt and go drifting and flapping across the fields, and most likely you have a northern harrier. They used to be called marsh hawks, I believe. Here are close-ups of their face. The female here, you can see this disc-like face that reminds you of an owl a little bit. So that the sound will reflect along those feathers to their ears on both sides. And here's the male, which is very different. So they do have sexual dimorphism, and the male is kind of like a gray, very light and smaller than the female. Most of the time, we see females. Oh, I should say, are there any questions about our harriers?
The male is sometimes called the gray ghost.
The gray ghost, right. And when the male flies too, at the tips of his wings it's black. That's distinctive as well. Then we're going to go to smaller songbird, the American tree sparrow, which we see here between end of October, well, maybe, yeah, end of October to April. So they are a winter sparrow, and they breed way up north, right where the trees start to give away to the tundra. And so that's where they come from. And they nest on the ground up there. And so it's funny that they're called tree sparrows, because they nest on the ground, or they nest very low to the ground, and they like the edge of the tundra boreal forest area where there might be very few trees. And what happens supposedly is, I guess what I read on All About Birds, the Cornell site, is that Europeans here mistook them for the Eurasian tree sparrow. And so that's where the name came from. So it's kind of a misnomer. It should be like American ground sparrow or something. Beautiful, beautiful birds. They have this lovely rufous cap, gray face, and then this rufous colored line through the eye to the back, like someone just took a paintbrush and just kind of painted a little bit wider at the edge here. Then they have a two-toned bill, so gray on top, yellow underneath, and of course that big sort of triangular shape of a sparrow. No streaking at all on the chest, and this nice black dot in the center. Sometimes you might think of a chipping sparrow. It would be sort of unusual to see a chipping sparrow this time of year. They usually migrate south. I guess with our warmer weather, things have been different, so you never know what you're going to see. But something to look for, because they look very similar, is that first of all, this two-tone bill of the American tree sparrow, and the chipping sparrow has just a solid colored bill. And if you look at the line through the chipping sparrow, it's a black line, not this nice rusty color. And they have American tree sparrows have very, very long tails, although that might excuse me, be hard to tell the difference. The wintertime chipping sparrows, their cap, this is a summer photo of a chipping sparrow, a breeding photo. The cap is not brightly colored. Unlike the tree sparrow in the wintertime, the cap has that nice rusty color. All right, so those are our birds. I think that Lesley will talk about our Smith's longspur though. So I am going to stop sharing myself.
Okay.
And then let me see if I can,
I
if
think
I've
I can
given
just
you
pull up-
permission.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. I think you should be able to.
Uh-oh.
And does anyone have any questions about those birds before we move on?
The images didn't come up. I may not have the images of the Smith's longspur.
Okay, well, let me see what I can do here. You can always go to All About Birds. Do you want me to do that, Lesley?
Yes, actually.
Are people
I-
interested in seeing the
thought-
Smith's longspur?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Thank you.
you'll have to give me a minute. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
share
I
my.
apologize. I thought I had it. I thought I
Yeah,
had.
that's okay. So here I am. It's my, you'll just see me searching here in my Google. Let me see if I can Close this.
So I'll
down.
talk about it a little bit while you're looking. It was first seen, Scott Cerner first saw it about 2 weeks ago, I think, sort of towards the end of December. And he thought it was, maybe a sparrow, maybe a Lapland longspur, and he looked at it and he recognized it. It's a very buffy bird. And it's only been seen, this is the 4th time it's been seen in Massachusetts. So it's not just rare for our area, it's rare for our state. They breed way up in the Arctic and typically winter in Texas and Oklahoma, but the migratory path usually takes them through sort of the Midwest. So, and what we're seeing is the non-breeding. Yeah, that's perfect. The one that we're seeing here is the non-breeding adult. They've already bred north. What was so striking about this bird, first of all, it does look a little bit, it could be a Vesper sparrow, maybe it's a savanna. If you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know this is what it could be. What we found was the distinctive markings of the eye ring, like a Vesper sparrow, but a very distinctive eye ring, and the streaking on the breast, the very buffy color of the bird. And when you see it, when you actually see the bird, it's a very sort of orangey buffy color. So it looks different from other sparrows, or from sparrows. It's not a sparrow. It was right by the side of the road, literally on the tarmac, and sort of foraging along the edge, and cars would go by and it was totally unfazed. When my husband and I pulled up to see it, we watched a red-tailed hawk swoop down to try to get it. Of course, there's a row of birders there screaming, "Go away, go away." So the red-tailed hawk did not get the longspur. But it was a pretty dramatic moment to see it just come right down towards the bird. But it was completely unfazed by people standing on the other side of the road, by the cars going by. And I asked someone about it, and I asked Larry Therian. He said, it's because they breed so far north, they just don't have the experience of vehicles and humans and lots of traffic. So they don't really notice it. So that afforded us some really great looks, and it's still there. It's been seen at 7:30 in the morning and 2:30 in the afternoon, so there's no sort of set time. It has been traveling a little bit with horned larks, but it's also been seen by itself. And again, it's been, you'll see a little row towards, if you're sort of driving towards the transfer station, there's a row of arborvitae, little ones being grown there. I think that area and on the other side of the dike is owned by Weinsick. So you'll see the trees that are being grown there will eventually move to Weinsick. But you'll see a little row there, and it was on the east side of that row, just in the field that looks just like this photo, foraging in the field. And very obliging. Once it's there, it's sort of happy to hang around for you to see it. So it's worth a look.
Yeah, I just want this, I got to this
Ooh, yeah,
white.
this is a good one.
Yes, because it does have this white on the outside of its tail,
Yeah.
right, when it flies. And just buffy otherwise.
Mhm.
Yeah, not sort of more of a buffy color underneath, then it wouldn't be striking white like a snow bunting or light colored like a horned lark.
Mhm.
So
So
but
does
they're about the same. I want to say they're about the same size.
I think they are. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the hornlark. Yeah.
Is it showing up by the road occasionally still, very close, or was that?
Yes. No, it has
still-
been. Yeah.
okay.
Or, 5-10 feet in at the most.
Yeah, when I saw it, it was like, it was like 2 feet from the tar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I stop sharing now.
So.
Great. All right, folks. Well, good luck.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Have fun, everyone, and we'll
Great.
see you next
Bye.
month.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Maybe we'll
lot.
see you out birding.
Thank you.
All
Have a
right.
good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.